So, for everyone listening, a kill team is a collection of Citadel miniatures, operatives for each player, in the official rulebook for Kill Team, 3rd edition. Which means, in my opinion, or at least rules as written, you can't use proxies.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys agree with that?
You know,
Rules
rules as
is
written.
written. Rules is written, yeah. Actually,
I just tried to do that, and I'm not wearing my glasses today because they broke. So I almost like stabbed myself in the eyeballs. It was good.
And
I almost didn't wear mine because
in
of
the beginning.
the glare, but actually they're helping. I'm glad I got to do that just for the bit.
Mm-hmm. So
I wear mine because I'm blind.
So everyone, this is Darcy Bono from Darcy Bono Creations from YouTube and Instagram. We know each other for a very specific reason, why we will get into that here shortly today. And today we are going to be talking about our first foray into Kill Team 3rd Edition. And a little bit about the All Valley Team Tournament, since that's just concluded. And it is our biggest event. So Darcy, do you want to introduce yourself?
I mean, you did pretty well there, I think. I'm Darcy Bono. I paint miniatures and play games when I'm not painting miniatures. And we met at Nova, and more on that in a moment.
Yeah. What has been your favorite model that you've painted?
Definitely. I actually just shared it today because I'd worked on it for the event we're going to discuss, and that is the Nemesis Claw Night Lords Visionary.
Oh, I'm going to pull it up right now.
The leader of the Night Lords kill team. It is super neat.
Does it have music? Is it going to blare?
Does.
Is it going to blare eardrums out? Okay, hold on. Let's try it again.
Possibly it's
Definitely blares the eardrums out, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
no, it's not your fault. It's our recording.
On my phone, it's not that bad. So I'm like, no one uses desktops for Instagram anyway.
Seriously.
Wow. Look at that. That is gorgeous.
Thank you. Well,
absolutely.
the model does a lot of the heavy lifting. That is just a really cool looking model, color or not. A lot of people didn't like the sword. They're like, it's such a goofy hilt. I'm like, it's a rib cage. That's super metal. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's pretty. I think
absolutely.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it a lot. They said the hilt was unrealistic. I'm like, okay, so like a corpse sitting on a throne eating the essence of psychers, that's realistic. But this poor guy's sword,
right?
Is a joke.
It's not like
It's
definitely not like Space Marines themselves are, realistic or not.
Yeah, I was like, this is a
Right.
100% rule of cool artistic miniature, and I love it.
Yeah.
The cloak of tan skin, the eyeball in his knee, it's just got so much. It's got a ton of detail, but none of it feels forced or unnecessary, I guess.
Absolutely.
Good miniature.
It borders the line of being almost busy, but not quite. So it makes for a great model.
I agree. Yep.
What was the favorite color that you painted on this? And can you take us through? Did you do was it your reds or your blues or your?
I really love doing. Actually, you named all three of my. Okay. I mean, they're the main ones, but those are actually my three, probably in order that you just named. The blue, I really like. Because I don't paint blue often, which is weird, especially over metallics.
Okay.
But yeah, that's all contrast paint. I have a tutorial of it. I'm trying to recall. I think it's Celestium blue and Black Templar mixed together. I'd have to check the ratio, so you get like a dark, rich blue, almost like the color of an ink pen, thinned down. And you put that over top of the metallic, spread it out with some medium. Then you go through and you paint
contrast medium.
Yeah. Crap. Hold on. In this one, it might be Lamy and medium. I can't remember.
That's fair.
Okay.
Because it depends. It depends on how much you want to thin it. Because I've noticed Lamy and medium makes it way more fluid. And I think it is Lamy and medium for this because it does better over metallic surfaces. Because contrast medium.
That's an interesting observation.
Yeah, contrast medium just kind of lets it not really sit, but it doesn't. It just isn't as viscous, I think is the word. It just doesn't flow quite as well. But yeah, so you do that, make it transparent, then paint on your little very pale lightning bolts, and then you glaze in a lighter blue over top to get that kind of faded lightning look, and then you can just touch up the light. Yeah, you can see on the pauldron there where it's not quite a full bolt, but you can see the little zip.
That's to me, that's some of the hardest freehand is actually. I've tried to paint lightning before. I haven't done it in years, because I hated it. It's so difficult. It's
I
so
found
difficult.
drinking coffee. I found drinking coffee really helps because it makes your hands shake irregularly.
Okay.
So if you just like, yeah, it does. Because I kept doing like the Harry Potter lightning bolt, like the
Mhm.
which is stupid. But yeah, if you start doing almost like a helix, not
Okay.
quite a helix, like do like the first like almost like you're making an S, but like make your hand shake like hell, like while you're drawing an S.
Okay.
Then you
Yeah.
go back and do like as if you were drawing almost a helix where you
Mhm.
like just kind of wrap around and you get that spidery kind of look.
Awesome.
But yeah, it took some experimenting, but like once you get the rhythm down, it's not as complex as it looks kind of thing.
That's fair. That plasma glow is phenomenal, I must
Thank
say.
Oh
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's
the center spot of the white.
Mhm.
contrast to yeah, that last white that you add at the end is that sells the whole thing.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So today, we met playing. So I was invited to go to Nova to play the next edition of Kill Team before anyone else through Games Workshop and an insider program, which was a lot of fun. We got to learn a lot of stuff and got to play 2 games. And my opponent was lovely, but I'm not going to say whom that was. Darcy, how often have you played Kill Team before you came to that event?
I hadn't played since Octarius.
Okay.
We'd been in Utah at the time, and they had a very active gaming scene for all platforms, basically. And then after that, we were just in Tennessee for a year, so it really wasn't much time to make friends and establish myself. And it just there wasn't really a kill team scene there,
Mhm.
so I hadn't
Mhm.
played for a while.
That's fair. That is fair. Um, I think I was just in Utah, and that's where I won my golden ticket. Was at a Utah event.
At the Salt Lake City
Salt Lake
something, right?
City, yeah, but their scene is relatively small, but a couple of them do exist.
Yes.
Wait! You were at the Salt Lake City Open?
I was, and that's where I won.
That's a golden ticket event now.
It is.
That is so awesome. Go figure that when I'm not there. So I'm friends. Like I used to go to that. Like I did the paint judging and stuff at that.
Oh, see,
And I
I went
think
and I had my thing judged in in the painting competition. It was great.
that's funny. So the guy that runs it, Mario, is like he's like the ringmaster of the whole Salt Lake City scene. He's like one of the best people in the world. Does a huge like charity event too around maybe just after that. But before, I think as I was leaving, he was working on it to be a golden ticket event.
Oh.
So that's awesome. I didn't know that had actually come to fruition. That's super good, cool to find out.
Yeah, it was a
Shout out to Mario.
yeah. Shout out to Mario, and
Yeah,
and
I'm
shout
hoping I'm actually thinking of the correct event, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one.
yeah. It was a lot of fun, and maybe next year I'll go back out, and then we'll be able to meet up.
Go
Um,
harass the TO.
yeah,
Tell him Darcy sends her love.
sounds
Give him
good.
a wedgie or something.
So, so you haven't played Kill Team in a while, so you were kind of reintroduced to the new edition, and I believe the very first game we played was we didn't play approved ops, but we did play like a normal game of Kill Team from the core manual, and then we played the PVE, which I was really skeptical on.
Oh,
When
really?
when things were like, oh yeah, there's gonna be PVE, I was like, what is this? It was so much fun. It was so much fun. It was crazy. What did you think?
I had the opposite reaction
Okay.
because and we might be burnt at the stake, or I might be burnt at the stake for bringing up another game, but because I'd been playing Silver Bayonet with my husband, and
Okay.
that's got
Mhm.
PVE and co-op elements to it. Um, I'm not super familiar with other games that have PVE and co-op, so they might all just be very similar. Like that just might be the main mechanic. But as soon as they started describing what we're gonna go over with the co-op stuff, I
Yeah.
assume, I was like, oh shit, it's Silver Bayonet, but 40K. So so I was ecstatic. I was like, yay, this will be great.
Yeah. It was an absolute blast. I definitely really liked the game, and I liked a lot of the changes. And kind of sat down and we talked about a lot of stuff, right? I did notice a few things that they changed from the Warhammer community article, from the classified and declassified stuff. They talked a little bit about that kind of stuff there. What did you think about because you're not really you're not really competitive with Kill Team as of yet. You might become. I don't know.
Right. No, I'm like familiar with the the concepts kind of thing, but no, I understand. I honestly thought, just from like a marketing perspective, I thought it was something that was such a substantial change that it would have been best, I think, if they had addressed it honestly just in a short video. Like, they've done short videos before when they've when they've messed up. Like, there was that one a couple years ago where it was the huge data slate rewrite or something. They nerfed like a ton of stuff that was grossly OP, and they literally admitted, hey, we messed up, and now we're fixing it in a video. It was a short little goofy video, and great. And so I think when you're dealing with something this controversial that's gonna have such a knee-jerk reaction from people who might be justifiably upset if you're not communicating things correctly, I think you need a video for it with someone actually explaining, this is what this means, don't freak out. I feel like that's so much, like, sure, the people are still going to be cynical, that's just human nature, but it's going to be a lot harder to be cynical than just like, skimming through an article and then going, oh my god, and not reading the fine print kind of thing. So I really think it could have been probably better communicated than the way it ended up being, just kind of like thrown at.
Yeah, I remember it was the thing that we talked about the longest in the whole thing. I know that I brought up a lot of my concerns while the event was happening, and I think that they laid a lot of that to waste. But ultimately, as a TO, as a third-party TO, we're going to do what the community wants in the end. And I think we did a podcast before with all the biggest TOs and third-party TOs, no one that's been like touched by Games Workshop, and I wanted to get what they thought. So if you guys want to watch our discussion on that, that's a previous video. I think it was 2 podcasts ago. But I think the classified and declassified thing is really fascinating and really interesting. And I'm so excited that we actually get to talk about it now. We've been waiting, what is the 23, 24 days to actually talk about this kind of stuff. And I know Giacomo wasn't there. Giacomo, do you have any questions about any of that stuff, or like our first games?
Yeah, I'm actually curious about when the declassified classified stuff was mentioned. So they had you all kind of like, what was it like? Did they have a podium speaker and then everyone was allowed to ask questions?
Yeah. Essentially, there's a PowerPoint, and we kind of got to go over the game, learn how to play the game, some philosophies and stuff like that. And then that came up, and it was like, hold up, questions? Yes, everyone.
It was a major record scratch moment, I would say that.
Yeah.
See, because that's what I wondered. And then when it came to playing the game itself, did you like a lot of the changes? Not because it's one thing to read them, and then it's another thing to actually use them. Apply them.
I would say that there was a lot of interesting design decisions, in my opinion, from the changes between the two. But I would love to get Darcy's thoughts coming from only playing Octarius to coming to this now, because I think a lot of people are going to be new or not nearly as competitive as myself.
Yeah. Well, one, the most obvious is the stupid shape change. Everyone's ecstatic about numbers being involved. My God. Well, we really don't need to address that. I don't think anyone was ever like, oh God, I miss my squares. But yeah,
really
so
nostalgic.
the I feel like that's going to be a lot easier with new people as far as measuring goes. That, and oh crap, there was the other one that I was like, the line of sight stuff. Didn't they condense that?
Yes,
they
changed that.
That was one.
Line of sight was a big one for me.
Yeah, there was Kill Team 2018. There was a rule that was really difficult to understand, and that was how you kill a model. It was like, I'm going to roll a dice, and I kill your model, and then you have to roll a dice to see if they actually die, and if they don't die, they're wounded, and then you have to like kill them again.
Mhm.
And there was like rules with AP, and it was crazy. And then they're like, all right, let's redo this. Let's make killing off models really easy. They die if they hit 0. Cool. Let's make something else in the game really difficult.
Line of sight. In a game that you kind of want to be shooting most cases.
Mhm.
So-
Which again, I think when they made that rule, it wasn't intended to be this like really busted thing, but players figured that out and then made it busted.
Mhm.
I'm sure we'll find something in third. I just don't know what it is yet.
The Night Lord's Midnight Clad is
Mhm.
spicier. I don't know whether it was
Okay.
an omission. And again, I haven't played like a ton, but in the previous edition, it was. Of course, I'm blanking on it now, but you basically had to be within an inch of terrain, but either also
Mhm.
concealed. There was like 2 things you had to be in order to like you not get shot at, but still close the distance really easily. But in this one, in the new edition, I'm like, wait, where's the other sentence? So you only have like one thing you have to do to like be basically invisible and just waltz down the board.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So I'm
Simplicity's
actually
good,
kind of
though.
hoping they nerf that because I'm like, that's all I have to do is be within an inch. And I even like showed it to the the TO, the organizer who was like walking us through stuff. I was like, I'm reading this right? And they were like, yeah, I guess so. I guess they changed. But so that was neat. It made it a lot simpler in that regard. But to do what the Night Lords do. But yeah, line of sight and the basic human measurements, I think, were my biggest takeaways as far as like, okay, this is way easier to just sink into.
Yeah, it's
Do you guys think? Oh, good.
no, go for it, G.
Well, because the next question I wanted to ask you too, since you guys got to try it out, do you feel like the PVE is a great way to introduce players who are more timid when it comes to doing like competitive based games or one-on-one with complete strangers?
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. If you don't mind me going
Go for
first,
it,
sorry, I didn't know
please.
yet. Okay. Just as someone who has been, so my husband does scale models, like historical stuff, and I've been trying to get him into 40K universe forever. Astra Militarum, they're all just conglomerations of historical war figures. And he does like those. He's done tons of tanks and stuff, but as far as like actual gaming, like we'll play Warcry together. But even then, like when it's either when you're getting someone into the game, you've kind of got to dial it back to the point where you're not really enjoying yourself that much, or they're kind of struggling. The person you're teaching is kind of like worried that you're not having fun because they're still kind of fumbling through it. Where I feel like PvE takes both of those factors away, where it's like it's okay, like the person that knows more can carry the team while the other person figures it out, and they don't have to worry about being a burden kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
because it's PvE, it's fighting mobs. So I feel like that is a much more approachable thing, rather than like, okay, good job, you won the game, I wasn't trying my hardest, but yay. Or hey, you got slaughtered. Well, yeah, we knew that was going to happen. So I feel like it takes out both of the potentially meh outcomes that you get when you're teaching someone to play for the first time.
That's fair.
Or I
Yeah.
could just be a huge jerk and care too much about the outcome rather than the person actually learning.
The thing that I like about it the most is that you can make it as hard or as easy. So if you
Right.
really want,
Yeah.
if you really want to challenge yourself, you can make it hard. Like the operatives that you fight against are difficult. And if you feel like, I remember in my game, we were like, I think the book says that you can have 90, like is like on average, like 90 wounds is like what you want to fight against, and
Yeah.
you can pair, make whatever. And I think we put like 120, 130 wounds.
Oh, that was you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
And
that
like,
was funny.
our, I had one model left, and my partner also had one model left. And they had everything almost, and we were still able to win, but at the same time, did we allow ourselves to win? Like, but it was still a lot of fun because it was like, oh, I think this would be easy, and it was not, and it was cool because you can kind of scale it to your own difficulty level because you are also playing the team, and if you're playing with a person, not just by yourself, you can make it more difficult or easier depending on who you're teaching the game from. you know, and be like, no, actually, I think they're the bad guy's best move would be this because they're gonna want to deny us this point. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, gee, I think this is a great way to teach players rather than like, because how I used to teach players was I would bring like Vet Guard or I would bring Compendium Tyranids, and I like Compendium Tyranids. I would just bring like a horde of just like gaunts and just like run at you and be like, all right, you got like 16 things to kill, you know, shoot them until they're dead. And Vet Guard, I'd be like, all right, I'm not going to shoot you. I'm just going to charge you and fight you with 14 bodies. You need to shoot and kill my guys. Otherwise, I'm going to overwhelm you with my little bodies, you know, punching you with fists. And while I enjoyed it and it kind of taught me how to play like suboptimally, but optimally, I don't think that is fun for everyone. So yeah, I do think it's great. I think we lost your audio, G.
Oh, there was one thing that I also meant to add about the PV. Oh wait, should I stop?
No, G will get it back. I think he has to wiggle his wire. Go ahead, Darcy. What were you saying? There, we got you back, G.
It was the painter's perspective on the PVE.
Oh, okay.
Because the first thing I thought, and this probably was not at the top of everyone's minds there, but as someone who's a casual player painter, I was ecstatic that I would now be able to have a use for my one-off projects. Like,
yes,
I love the Tyranids. Like, I think they're cool, but I don't want an army, but I also don't want them just like taking up space for no reason kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, hey, I could really go for painting a few, you know, whatever, word bears or just whatever. Like I'm very much a hobby, I think they call it a hobby butterfly, where you just flip from project to project, but then you just end up with all these things taking up space that I'm like, this would be cool to use in something, but now they actually have a purpose. So, and because of the way that they set up the mobs, their profiles, I mean, the world's your oyster kind of thing as far as what you want to paint and put in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that we definitely probably would have lost the battle if the enemies were doing as good. But I agree that like this is like the main reason why I want to paint a couple Tyranids, you know, to actually have them on stream, play a battle report in the back, and then have Twitch interact. You know, like what if like some Tempesta Scions come in to help us when we're losing, or more Tyranids come on because they hate me and Giacomo, you know, and they want us to die.
Right. That I was thinking that's like the natural step, and I don't know if GW is going to do this, but the natural step in any multiplayer game where it's you versus the game, there's always some element of like, oh, you're doing really hot, draw this card, and then it does something. And then now, you know, like you're playing Shadows over Camelot's a great example. You're doing really hot, just kidding, no, you're not. And then the card tells you you actually get this detriment, you know, or sometimes it's in your favor, you know,
I like that.
which I think is a natural step for them to do to create more of the surprise element of the game.
It's also great because you can interact with people on Twitch so that they can be like, hey, we want this Tyranid to attack this person, you know, like whether that's like what's good or not, or Necron or this or that. As I don't know, people that are just tuning into this for the first time, I've been playing Warhammer since the year 2000. I have 14,000 points of Eldar. I have 8,000 points of Necrons, 7,000 points of Space Marines, 0 Space Marine tanks, only dudes, because dudes are cooler. Don't ask me why. I have 180 Guardians. Don't ask questions. Just accept my life, okay? Just accept. Look at Darcy. She's like, that's incredible.
But no, what do you guys
She's
think
lost for words.
We all have a collection of miniatures.
Yeah, you know, I have the plastic, you know, the plastic booger sugar, you know, like man, yeah, you know, plastic crack's a thing. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. When you were playing your game, what stood out in this edition to be the most exciting change for you, or the most exciting part of the game that you enjoyed?
Honestly, probably the PvE aspect, as silly as that is. Just for what we've described, like it's just a very approachable way to go about doing it. And I think aside from the painting diversity, it's also a really great way to learn your team without boring someone or getting absolutely, murdered.
Hmm.
Um, for example, when I was like, before we went to the event, I was like, okay, I need like a refresher game because it's been years. So I had the Night Lords kill team, and I played against a guy here locally. It was great. It was a very, very fun, casual guy. He brought Custodes, and I got my again, not knowing what I was doing because it had been a while. My what's his name, Visionary, got like sniped. Like the rolls were really good. My positioning was garbage, so he
Ooh.
got like mega murdered despite his, what is it, prescience tokens.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, well, damn, I kind of wanted to see what he did. Maybe I should have just kept him back. But I basically pulled an orc and went, he's the biggest, toughest guy. Let's go. Oh wait, you guys are the Emperor's bodyguards. I thought it was propaganda. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, he died. He died. The game actually ended up being very close. But yeah, so as far as like figuring out what your guys do in a safe, we're not going to probably get deleted right away environment, I think I like that. That's another potential for PvE, which is my favorite aspect of this thus far.
Mm. For me, I really like the change to 3 objectives. I think it's really going to help out elites, and I think elites used to struggle really badly. And I think with some of the rules that we've seen in the Night Lords team, um, I think elites are going to be really, really strong. You
They're
know,
looking hot.
they're looking super, super hot.
As they
And
say, we are so back.
if they are at all similar to the Night Lords team, the rest of the elites, the rules will be, I think, relatively good. And I think that there's a lot of really good things with the universal equipment. I think that they really simplified a lot of the game, but I think they
Nailed it.
I think they nailed a lot of good stuff. And I think they made the game simpler, but not too simple. And I think they've added depth back. They've kept the depth to the game, which I think is really good. And, I think with getting regular updates, Kill Team 3 is going to be great, and I really enjoyed both of my games. And it was interesting because there's a lot of freshness now. It's like we're on episode, what is this, 117, G, since we started making podcasts for Kill Team. And now it's like, this is like the first one that we're really just focusing on, the next edition. And it's really exciting to have a fresh look outside of just like, what does this comms guy do? What does this medic do? Oh, interesting. How does this team break the game? I think we're all going to be really happy and excited. Are there a few weird things? Like, let's talk about the weird things about the game. You can't score on turning point 1, but we did see that the Jaegers can all start outside of the deployment zone, right? So like, was it 10? I don't even know how many bodies they have. They can all start 4 inches outside of the deployment zones.
Mm-hmm.
Competitively, it's pretty dang strong,
Very strong.
especially for turning point 1. Go ahead.
Vespids, aren't they like, Vespids have insane, wasn't that like 7 movement plus they had fly, I assume, right?
Yeah,
They
they
do.
have like
Yeah.
super fly.
They could absolutely score in the first. So I am kind of glad they did that, especially for the poor, elites,
Yeah.
poor guys that
And
hit
the
things
poor
like
dwarves.
bulldozers.
I mean, I like the score changes a lot. Like, there's different ways to win, and sure, you could always say there was always different ways to win, but now there's legitimately different ways to win.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could just go heavy into murder if that's your thing.
Yeah, the kill points. That was
Yeah, exactly.
solid.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
if it's like you don't want to read rules, this is Kill Team. It's not Read Team. Just start shooting stuff. Whatever. And I think that appeals to more players who just like being murder hobos and just going forward and killing everything in their way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Works.
because I have
That
friends who
works.
like, yeah, I never really play with rules. I just kind of want to shoot stuff. Like, all right, perfect. This is for you. This is what you do.
Yeah.
And and punishes players for being like, oh, I can send bodies to the slaughter, because you lose that way now. So there's it scratches a bunch of different itches for me seeing those changes. What do you guys feel about those changes?
I loved it. I insta-grinned as soon as they said the kill point, the kill scale thing, because
Mhm.
I'm like the orcs are my favorite army for that reason, because I can play the character and get my butt kicked, but still it's orcs, so you have fun.
I
And the fact that you're rewarded for that now, I'm like, great.
I think there's two things. Me, I'm always worried about people coming back to tournaments, right? And I feel that the kill op, as cool as it is, there has to be a cultural shift in kill team, especially the competitive scene themselves. Because if you go to a tournament and you're not great and you get tabled every single time because your opponents are just better than you, what's the likelihood that you're going to come back? You know, and unfortunately, with that being a core concept and a core rule, I think can have negative consequences for tournaments, right? Especially if you're not nearly up to the scale of others. Especially because, like in the old edition, you know, leaving a couple models alive or leaving a model alive to let people score points, you know, isn't the worst thing. Like, do you want to put you already beat a guy? Do you want to put your foot on their throat? I can see, sure, at top tables, sure, at like medium tables, like it is a thing of the game now, and ultimately people know what they're signing up for. Your team could be tabled and people are going to have no remorse anymore. But in the same aspect, the fact that your team has to be completely annihilated off the board feels like a poor mechanic to keep people coming back. And Darcy, I see your facial expressions. I want to know. I can tell that you haven't thought about that. What do you
No,
think about that?
I think,
Mm-hmm.
and keep in mind my only tournament experiences with Warcry, and
Mm-hmm.
I have been almost tabled in Warcry, but I think realistically speaking, you kind of have to go into a tournament expecting the worst, or at least I did. But I don't know. I don't know if that would be quite enough to, just go, well, I suck and leave kind of thing. Just because I mean, it is a dice game. It happens. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it is a factor that could affect people, but this is just anecdotal. I feel like most people are realistic enough to be like, well, that one sucked, on to the next one, kind of thing.
That's
Hmm.
fair. That's fair too. That is fair
I
too.
totally agree. Like,
There,
I've seen some of the players who just get tabled and they still come back.
yeah, I would say that there's. I like how strong mentally you are, Darcy.
I'm
There.
just very devil may care. That's no mental fortitude involved at all.
So I come from like League of Legends, and you can see people get
Oh
tilted
Christ.
really. Yeah, I know.
Oh
You
no,
can
I used to. Yeah.
you can see people get tilted really quickly, and I'm not somebody that can tilt very easily. You know, sure, I talk shit a little bit, you know, because a little toxic. Why not? But you know, I think that there is that level in everyone, and I think that it could become a problem, but with it being a core rule, hopefully it doesn't become a problem for the game itself. I would have loved to see kill op tweaked just a tad, that you could max it if there was still like one less, right? So like you could still leave a model on the table so you don't have to just completely annihilate the team. I feel like that would have been more holistically good. But in the end, since it is a core rule, people know it going in. Hopefully, it won't become a problem. Hopefully, we can see that shift away. That was like my one concern with the everything else. But I do like, you only need 10 dice for the game, because it doesn't look like we're getting more than 6, right? 6 dice in any profile, just like last edition from what we've seen. And the other 4 dice are for your command points, for the kill op, for the crit op, and for um, your secondaries, your tac ops. And, you know, we've already made some dice trays, and we kind of showed them off at the All Valley Team Tournament, and some command point trackers, and a whole bunch of other cool acrylic goodies that I make with my two lasers right here. Still trying to get my big one up and going. But Darcy, I wanted to move on to painting, because we all painted. And you got selected to be in the Warhammer community. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, we did as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you did the red one. The red
He did the
Oh
red
my
one.
God, Aquila! You did the red
Yes.
one. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I love that.
I'm colorblind, and I
you.
did the green one. I had to ask Giacomo on every single step.
Are you
Which green
serious?
Yeah.
works? Yeah.
That's amazing.
Uh-huh.
Because
I
Yeah,
you
it
did
is.
the Vespid. I mean, they both looked great. I just flipped out over the Tempestus Aquilon because I had been considering. I was like, I wonder what they would look like in red, and then I like ditched it because I paint a lot of red. But that
what,
was when I saw that. I was like, that's great.
Giacomo, what was your original inspiration? Because this is funny, in my opinion.
So my favorite kind of dessert cake is a red velvet cake with
Yes.
cream cheese topping. And
Yes.
so I was like, oh, that could be like a fun like duo color. And then I looked up online, and someone had made that color scheme before. It turns
Yep.
out it's a real one, and
That's
I was
awesome.
like, "Oh shoot! All right, I'm gonna just do that now. Like it's perfect. Someone figured it out." And so I'm gonna try to replicate it using monument paint, and
Yep.
there it goes. It worked. I loved it.
So,
That was
Giacomo, I know you can't see it, but
amazing.
we're looking at your model here.
Uh huh.
What was your process of doing your reds? And I'm zooming in so I can see every flaw. Uh,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So they'll come. Once you hit the 11th hour, your straight lines aren't as straight anymore.
Mhm.
So it started with Monument Hobbies primer. I'm going to just say the names out, not promoted by them. I'm
Yeah,
not
we are not
affiliated
sponsored
with
by
Monument Hobbies.
Hobbies. We are not.
So I use the Pro Acryl primer. It takes a day to dry, which is always fun. So it means a lot of more prep time. And then I had to figure out, like, all right, hit it with red. I know red has to be the majority of the color because that's half the armor, right? So I can get a smooth finish. But then there was just like a lot of the time, because I was painting it at your house, a lot of time I just deciding like what color is this, what color is that, and the first model always takes the longest. But then
does.
everything is easier from there. So I needed to choose colors that don't overtake reds, but are just like neutral enough, like the browns and the grays, very neutral colors, so that the red, the golds, and the white can stand out the most, because those are the main point. And of course, a little glow on the lights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that was the thought process for it, and I'm very much a fan of ultra line highlights. I've been a fan of it ever since I was a kid, so I keep painting in that style, and I'll keep painting in that style till I die. And yeah, just pick out really sharp edges that your eyes are naturally gonna look at, and make them really sharp, or as sharp as you can.
And what was the
Yeah.
black that you used? Because I'm pretty sure you used the Hobby Highlander black. Which, Darcy, if
I
you're not familiar, we have another show, which is a painting show, where we blindly test 6 different paints. Except for our first episode, we did 8 because we were psychopaths and we
Yep.
had no idea how long it would take.
Editing was awful.
Yeah, and then everyone always tells us, "Oh, why didn't you test more paints, people?" And we're like, "Oh, because it takes like 3 hours to film with more paints, and then more editing time." But essentially, our show is we blindly test paints to see which is the best on our testing palettes. What is the best paint, right? Spoiler for everyone here, if you guys haven't seen the black episode, what was the black that you used here?
It is AK's black.
Mm-hmm. That was our
what is the line?
intense
Black.
color.
Intense
I was gonna say,
color.
that's
Their
my
intense
favorite
color
black.
black.
I love that black.
She knows.
It's a very
She
good
knows.
black.
It's so
Yes.
it's like really opaque, but it dries really flat, and it's I love that color. It's my favorite black.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we filmed 9 episodes so far, and I think we're like, I don't know, 4.
Though I will say,
Go ahead.
just really quick for the purpose of black, I did use coal black and mixed it with some red when I was creating shadows, just because Monument hobby paints like to blend better with themselves. At least how I've been trying them out. Though some of the orange highlights were mixed with AK as well.
That's fair.
There's just a side note.
Yeah. We are such big fans of the AK black that when it was the ultimate thing that we were like, hey, this is the best black paint. It was it wasn't even like we didn't have a big reaction, because we were like, yeah, this is just the best.
It's just better than all of them. Like
yeah,
what you do.
Yeah, and there's like some paints that are just like, there are a couple ranges that we've had like really close, and we've had to like kind of figure it out. And then there's other times where it's just been like, most of the time it's just like, this is by far just the best paint. Yeah, so G, you did a great job on this. You had great color selections. Even I can see your highlights, and I'm color deficient, not fully colorblind.
I used another Hobby Highlander, which I won't reveal because the episode's not out yet. Color in this paint job as well.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
So this was my Vespid, and I painted him after Cell from Dragon Ball Z. And
I thought that looked familiar. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was cell inspired, color scheme by, right? So I've painted Master Chief before, so I knew how to paint that green, and that's the lighter color greens. And then the dark, which is mostly not slap chop, but like you do kind of like underpainting with white and grays and blacks. And then you go over it with contrast, and then you kind of use the layer paints mixed in. So I would use Militarum green. I think I used Militarum green over the entire thing, and then I used camouflage green, whatever the camouflage one is.
Creed camo.
Creed camo on the darker parts as a second coat. And then I would use Elysium green, highlighting it up on the green, and then I would do like final specs with Ogren camo. And the orange, I think I used AK. I think I used Magmaroth, Magmaroth Flame into deep orange from AK. And the dark greens was difficult for me because I didn't know what I was doing. And I would go from Creed camo, and I started mixing in some Warpstone, highlighting with that. And the interesting thing is since I knew there was going to be a black speckled pattern on this model, my final highlights of the previous color before the actual final highlight, I would do a stipple effect. So I would kind of layer everything, and then my final one would be a stipple. So like it would be like pure Warpstone green, and I'd kind of start stippling in the highlights where I wanted them to, kind of doing it light, so you kind of get this nice transition. And then I would go through with AK black, and I did a very random patterns, and I would did my best to make it super random, but also overcompensate so that you could see it from a far distance. That's why you don't see black dots everywhere, because that's too much.
Right, be too stark.
Yeah. And then I used for the whites, it was just Uwin with a contrast, and then I would just do Uwin again with a final highlight of white, which was our Hobby Highlander white. And then I would use a little bit of oil. The white was rushed. We had 1 day to paint this, to submit it, to build and paint 1 day. Darcy, what was your? Because we're gonna. I see that you also put out a YouTube video on your Vespids.
I did. Yeah.
So we'll go over yours now, but.
Yeah, ironically, I didn't. So at the time I was painting the Aquilon leader for the article, I had COVID. So I was like, I don't know if this.
This was right after I.
Yeah, this was right after. So I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this and have it look like anything other than a Happy Meal. So, yeah, I was a little worried about that. So I didn't really I don't remember much of the process. I wrote some of it down, and I'm working on a tutorial, and I'm trying to half replicate what I did. There she is. I do know the brass armor is contrast paints over silver, mostly skeleton horde. It's like 4-drop skeleton horde, 1 drop of wildwood brown. And you do the Lamian medium trick, where you put down a Lamian medium first, so it diffuses and doesn't stick to one spot, lets you mop with it so you don't get those blotches, because the blotches are caused by excess of paint as well as the stuff just auto sticking. So that is the bronze. The blue is, I think it was Storm Fiend. She's all contrast paints because I was in pretty rough shape.
I love contrast though.
That's literally all. I'll do contrast, and then I highlight up from there, depending on the model. But for most infantry size things, they're heavily contrast. The sword is contrast as well.
That looks great.
Thank you. Over sorry, I didn't mean for that to sound so disingenuous. It was just me trying to remember. Yeah, thanks, guy. No, thank you, thank you. It was me trying to remember the recipe in my head at the same time. But yeah, it was Croxagore scales. That's what it was. And very thin layers over top of the same kind of thing that I did for the Night Lords, where you just paint your metal first, just standard lead belcher, highlight up with bright silver. That I did some stippling. Then did a glaze of Croxagore scales, then went in with the lightning, did the lightning in a bright white silver, fading down to a true white, then one final glaze.
What is your true white?
Pro Acryl.
Okay, interesting.
Their bold titanium white is by far my favorite.
That's fair.
Vallejo's Dead White, the reformulated one, is a close second.
Hmm.
And AK Interactive is pretty interchangeable with Vallejo, but I really like the Pro-Kill Bold Titanium White.
That's fair. That's fair. They those paints, all three of those paints tested really well on our white episode. So this is, and then I can see you did a bunch of really interesting work here on your base as well.
Thank you. I'm glad you noticed that, because I'm very proud of that, because I don't like painting industrial surfaces.
Okay.
Like, despite loving the orcs, I get like, when I have a vehicle, I hand it off to my husband, because I love painting infantry and stuff, but even then, like, I'm just not a fan of painting industrial surfaces.
That's fair.
So that was my one beef about this box set, is that they're all on industrial debris. There's like ventilation ducts and stuff, and I'm like, damn it. I was like, because that wouldn't make any, like, if you want to do an Arctic base, now you got to snip it off and put it on a rock. I mean, I guess technically it could be like ruins. I don't know. It's just, it just felt like you had to have your bases a certain look for the debris they're
City
standing on.
style.
Yeah. So I just went, forget it. I'll snip it off, and I'm gonna put it on an orc skull, because I want to do a natural, like, jungle base.
Hell yeah.
So that is it's literally just because the orc skull was the closest in size to the thing she was already standing on.
Yeah, I think we tried to, like, since we're going to be doing battle reports with these two teams, we wanted to try and mimic the board that it came with, which was actually relatively easy. I think they just took like a really high quality photo of something, but I really enjoy your plants, and when I can see green, I get excited, right?
Oh,
like I can see a very vibrant green, and then your dark I might not be able to see every highlight, right? I might not be able to, but it looks phenomenal to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is a tutorial on that, but they're all speed paints too. I think they're the Army Painter ones.
Okay.
Army Painter has a lot of good. They have a very good range of greens, of vibrant greens to work with.
I think GW kind of got a little bit better when they introduced the striking scorpion green, but they do kind of lack in the green range.
These are close to that, a little more natural looking, like a little more like plants would be, instead of like that nuclear glow.
Yeah, I have a really bad green story that I could tell you. It's very fun.
Okay.
My bad green story is I painted a bunch of swaps. So I had a commission paint job where I was supposed to paint a pink Spartan, and who has a green camo cloak. And so I painted a green, and I was like, what green is going to go well with this very vibrant pink? And so I painted a bunch of things next to pink, and Giacomo, I sent them all to Giacomo and my wife, and they're like, this green, this is the one to do. And I think it was like started off with, what was it, G? The Dark Angels green, I think, was like the base. And then you kind of go up from there. Well, I painted the entire cloak with Incubi Darkness instead. And I had to redo the whole thing in a different green, because I was like, this looks weird. Are you guys sure? I mean, I know I'm colorblind, but it looks weird. And they're like, no, you messed up. You did the wrong ones. I was like,
way darker.
Yeah.
This is the wrong green.
Yeah. But I like how you can also see your individual hair strands, and then the OSL lights behind your character's head as well is also phenomenal. Now, you did a YouTube video on your Vespids, and it says 95% contrast. I haven't seen it yet. I didn't know it existed. Okay, forgive me.
You're fine.
Yeah, and I don't want you to spill your secrets either. You know,
they're spilling right now. Look at the screen.
Oh no! It's interesting that I saw you did your wings a lot different than me as well. I think I did AK pastel blue with white speckly dots, and I really like. This is a really cool method. I'm not trying to ruin your viewership.
Oh, you're totally fine. It's seriously okay. This is just the snippet of the full tutorial anyway, so don't worry. This is in the full tutorial. This is just the quick version.
The quick version?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
But thank you. What you described sounds amazing, because I love that pastel blue. I know the blue you're talking about, because it's really great for making shadows in a cold white.
Mm-hmm. I think
That's that.
you can't really see it
Yeah.
here. You can't.
No, yeah, that's. But you said you've got white speckles in there in
Mm-hmm.
addition.
It's
That's a
all
really cool idea
towards the
for the tips.
yeah, towards the
I
tips.
like that. Well, it doesn't help that you have to send it on a white background. So
Yeah,
you almost have to, because I painted
yeah.
I painted that it was when Skaven Tide came out, and I painted the Knight Questor, the new guy with the torch and stuff. And I was like, I'm
The
gonna
OS
do the
guy, yeah.
Knights Excelsior. They're cool. They've got a really neat blue and red and ivory color. They look almost like the old world eaters. And then I finished it, went to get a picture of it, and went, why did I paint a white miniature on a white background? Yeah.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, we see that. It's interesting that we kind of see like every artist can make those mistakes. Like, for instance, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, since me and Giacomo, we do a lot of paint judging as well, at our events at LVO, and we make like really big trophies and all that kind of stuff. Um, when people, I can see that so far both of your bases, and from both the models that we've looked at, have phenomenal contrast between your model and then the base, right? Like your first one was like a blue and gold brass model with a really green, vibrant base. And then this model is yellow and white and has a very gray base. So you definitely don't want people looking at the bases, because the model is the ultimate highlight. Sometimes, we see like newer artists be like, oh, I'm going to paint, like white Eldar on and put them in snow because I want them to blend in. And it's like, that looks cool in theory, and that's what might actually happen in real life, but because they're trying to blend in. But as a miniature painter, you don't want your bases to match your models. What is your thoughts, and how do you go about avoiding those kinds of things?
Well, Giacomo, do you want to go first? I feel like I've talked way more than you.
Yeah, I can give my little insight on this real quick.
Yeah.
Generally, when I pick a model, so like when I was first painting Imperial Fists, I looked at yellow and I thought, all right, the base has to be something that isn't light. It can't be bright, because then it's gonna, like, I've seen a lot of ones with snow, and that's fine, but it feels like it's just a little like not quite contrasting enough. So I chose Mars, and Mars is like very like flat orangey kind of colors, and it's enough that it's like it looks dark enough to separate what's on the top, right? Because the top, everyone's looking at the model. The basing is secondary. Not to say you shouldn't take time and do something nice for your basing, but it's generally secondary. So another example is the Aquilon. He's red, or her. They're wearing a mask. Who knows? They're red, and it's very red. So the bottom can't be anything bright. I had to choose like kind of dark and maybe a couple accents like on the little poster on the ground, but mostly I wanted it to be red. So then I chose like a darker color, and that's generally how I decide what kind of basing I use based on that. How about you?
Yeah, basically mirroring what you said. It's very much a style. I think I like my guys to stand out, almost just unrealistically so. Because like you said, I think the focus should be primarily on the model. For my Imperial Fist, I did almost an identical base to what I did for the Vespid, just because they're yellow, and that flat warm gray just really helps them pop.
Mm-hmm.
So for a actual like kill team, it doesn't make any sense, but just tactically speaking. But or who knows, maybe they've got some kind of weird chameleon cloaking shtick to them we don't know about. But not the Imperial Fist, but the Vespids. Yeah, I think it's just my style. I am very high contrast. I think for me personally, the only time I think it fits as far as having things similar in color is when you're going for that grim dark look. And I see it all the time with my husband's stuff, where it's a heavily weathered industrial vehicle with a really gritty, muddy, dark, grim base.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like when you're working with that, it's almost like setting like just an ambiance, rather I wish there was another word that didn't sound that pretentious, but like setting an actual like atmosphere. There we go.
There you go.
Instead of a hey, this is the guy, behold the guy. Whereas when you sink the dark weathered thing into the dark weathered base, you get more of almost like a scene, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like it's two totally like just two different styles.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, that's like the main question I call Giacomo about. I'm like, hey, what color should I paint this base? And he's like, I don't know unless if you paint the model. I'm like, gosh dang it, G, I need to know these things.
Sometimes I guess you could decide like I want to do snow bases, therefore I know what colors I can't pick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you
That's
can go like,
yes, that is 100% what I do sometimes. As far as like if I have no idea what I want to do for a miniature, I'm like, okay, well, where do I want them to be? Like, what do I want them to be on? That is 1,000% the way that I do it sometimes.
Yeah, I've also done the same. A lot of times I like to pair two armies against each other, so I'll do like I think Mars basing is for like my Imperial Fists and my Necrons. And then I'll have like city fighting for my Vet Guard and city fighting for, my Brood Brothers. Or Gene Stealers. And then I'll kind of go back and forth between the two. Now your YouTube seems to be popping off on a lot of things. You have some really, really popular videos. We were taking a glance at it for people in the video that are watching the video. But, you have you just recently put out a Skaven video that has quite a lot of views. Your Vespids, your Blood Angels, and then you also have some really big painting videos like how to paint yellow, how to paint white armor. Tons and tons of views. Everyone should go and check out your YouTube channel because I think that's something that I think you deserve a lot of good support from the Kill Team community, especially as well. So,
no, thank you for that. Good Lord, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It helps people, paint their models faster too. Like, gives them a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of my shtick. I think like I'm not Richard Gray. I'm not Angel Giraldes. I don't
Sometimes
wish...
their videos are hard to watch though because they're just
it's magic. It's truly amazing. But I honestly came to the conclusion I am fine being just like decent, like putting something on the table. If I can put something on the table in a reasonable amount of time that makes someone walking by stop and go, hey, what is this, then I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's my standard basically. So I try and convey that in my tutorials on like, hey, you can get this done quickly and still have it be presentable and even quote good.
So
I like that.
Yeah. So going back to Kill Team real fast, are you planning on playing more if people are more interested in your area? Is this a one and done kind of thing? Are you planning on making any content on Kill Team?
Game wise, you mean?
Game wise or painting wise, or what is your future plans with Kill Team?
That's a really good question. So I've been asking myself that. So I actually have an answer. Yeah, I think so. I've got the Vespid one that's out. I've got the humans. Why am I blanking on their name? The Tempestus guys.
The
I've got one
Aquilions, I think they're called.
Aquilons, one of
the jumping guys, jumpy guys.
The jetpack Jim. Those guys. They're yeah, that's the leader. But yeah, so I've got one on them coming out, and I think I might actually do one on just a synopsis and overall like why I think this is a good thing, kind of like what we've touched on today on the PvE aspect and why I think it is a really good asset as far as introducing people to the game, being able to be involved with the game if you don't have a scene. So I get that you're going to get a little bit more of a limited experience, but as someone who lived in Montana for 4 years where there is nobody to play with, at least there's this, like you can at least have your miniatures on the board playing against things and using them as intended kind of thing. So I think I am going to harp on that quite a bit, just because it is, I feel like it's a very different approach that GW hasn't really done much with before. But as far as me playing, if it takes off in the area, I would, like, for example, we've got tons of game stores, but most of them are full scale 40K with some Age of Sigmar. But skirmish games just don't seem as popular. But I've been here since June. So, I mean, take that with a grain of salt. But if it takes off, yeah, I definitely would. I prefer skirmish games because it gives me time to paint and lets me flip between projects, like I said.
Yes.
So yeah, if it takes off, I really would like to. I feel like Warcry is kind of, I don't want to say on its way out, but I've kind of had my fun with Warcry in the past several years. So I think this will be this will kind of scratch the 40K itch on a skirmish level for me.
Between this
Okay.
and War and the Middle Earth, for me, they're new models I like. I like the anime like looking thing about them. You know, they're coming out with some high quality Middle Earth stuff, and
Finally.
I'm a nerd for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, my husband is too. Like I love Lord of the Rings, but he's definitely of the two
More
who's the
hardcore.
nerdier. But that is an ideal date night, is just pizza, beer, and Lord of the Rings.
There you go.
Um,
There you go.
can't beat it.
Yeah. Now, G, what teams are you looking forward to painting for Kill Team? Because we have a lot of stuff coming out too, like battle reports. That's been one of the main things that people have been requesting from us. We took a couple week break because we're focusing on the All Valley Team Tournament. When big tournaments are going to happen, we do as a team have to put our heads down and really work on the event and making sure that it's profitable. And making sure that the rules are there and that we're getting out all the messaging and the proper paraphernalia with signage and all that kind of stuff. So things do take a little bit of a backseat. Like, we did film a bunch of videos for the release of this edition, but we didn't get any edited because, 60,
man.
yeah,
It's happened.
we have to ensure that 67 people who sign up to our event are going to have the best time that they've ever had. And that is like the ultimate goal. So if
Right.
the channel has to take a week break, 2-week break here and there, I'm more than happy to do that to make sure that everyone's having a great time.
Yeah, I'd rather be producing content that I enjoy making and I don't feel rushed and I feel like it's actually worth putting out than to just, hit on the next thing and hit on the next thing, but it comes out really low quality.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think it's happened before. I won't say which video, but I didn't like that feeling after that.
Was
it
the one that our audio was just awful because it was that the one?
That one was, yeah, that was the one. It was
All
like kind of a last minute thing and we just made it and I was like, oh man, I guess it's better than nothing, but I don't want to produce which is kind of the same reason why I'm such a slow painter. I don't want to produce something that I'm not happy with. Because one of my best friends, he's painting like nonstop, producing all the time, right? He found his method, and I think that's wonderful. He gets models on the table, and that's always been his biggest problem. And he said, like, contrast is a godsend, right? Which is great. It was just fine, slap chop's perfect for him. But not for everybody, right? So I'm more of a, if I don't like it, I don't want to show it off to the world yet.
That is fair.
That's and I will always take those breaks if it means I have to do that.
I think also something else that we're going to be doing for anyone that's still listening to the podcast an hour in, because I think our average view time is 20 something minutes. So it's only the real fans left here. But we are
driving.
Tuesday night, which is going to be tonight. We are doing a hot takes live show for Kill Team. What that means is that you go onto our Discord while we're recording our show. I believe Jimmy Kelly's going to be our guest. He's an inflammatory figure that everyone loves.
Papa Waluigi.
Yeah, and him and us are going to be taking live call-ins. And people are going to give us their hot takes on this edition. How good, how bad, all sorts of stuff. So I know someone's going to call in and say how awesome Beta Decima is, and me and G are going to scoff at them, or how awesome dwarves are, and I will scoff at them, and then Giacomo will take the other person's side. So if you have a hot take, feel free to call in and tell us your hot take. And it could be that Monument White is the best white because Darcy, I'm sorry,
she said so.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
Okay.
Hold on, I have to say one thing.
Okay, all right.
When I painted that Aquilon, I didn't just use the Hobby Highlander winner. I did use Bold Titanium at one point.
I like Bold.
Tell you where.
I'm going to tell
I
you.
did use it.
I do like Bold Titanium. I just don't think it's the best white. Okay.
You know what's really funny?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I like remembered you.
Oh yeah.
At the event, because
Uh-huh.
you're like, this is Dakota, and I was like, you're the guy that said bold titanium.
Yeah. You know what's funny? It's funny is I met the Transatlantis Games guys. I met the Monument guys. I met Artis Opus, and going up to Monument was interesting.
Jason.
It was interesting, and then it's funny. It's funny going up and talking to manufacturers of paints because sometimes they recognize you.
Yeah.
And some brands of paint really enjoyed it. Right? They're like, "Oh, it's great. We love seeing it. It doesn't matter the outcome." And then there's other paint people that are like,
"Get out of here!"
like a Seinfeld moment where like the NPC gets furious.
Yep. Yeah, and very very enjoyable. But hey, you know what? That's the thing with blind stuff is like, if I would have had it my way, I would have said, AK white was the best white, and if Giacomo had his way, he would have said Monument was the best paint.
That's true. Yeah.
Taking the biasm out was very interesting. And Darcy, if you find yourself at the Las Vegas Open this year, we plan on doing a live Hobby Highlander. And if you want to be our guest for it and you want to blindly test some paint with us on stage, that would be fun. I'm just going to throw it out there. Just going to throw it out there.
I'll see what's going on.
Yeah, Vegas, in January, the end of January, you got time.
Yeah,
so.
it on my convention circuit's pretty limited, unfortunately.
I understand.
That is fair. So, we're gonna move on to the All Valley real quick, and then we're gonna go back in with some painting stuff because I would love to see what you think about the winners of our Forged Brush Awards.
Yes.
So the All Valley Team Tournament runs in parallel with a painting event. So the All Valley Team Tournament, everything is judged on a team. You win golden tickets based on a team, 3 golden tickets, and that's gone on. And I can say who won, right? The best painted teams. Some people came with immaculate painted teams, but unfortunately, their teammates didn't have immaculate painted teams, and they were not in the running for best painted because their team started to drag them down a little bit. Because ultimately, a team tournament should be judged everything as a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we also give out some individual awards, which is best in factions, but also the biggest thing for us is for the Forged Brush Awards, which is our own homegrown event, which eventually the awards are supposed to be hand forged metal brushes made from steel that I will make myself. But I have a giant anvil. I just don't have the forge yet. But the main prize is an anvil. It's a 22-pound anvil with a plaque on it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
It's different and it's interesting. Trust me, when you hold it, you're like, wow, this is gonna break my display case.
Real quick, I wanna spoil a single secret about our naming conventions.
Okay.
Dakota knows this, but I don't think the world knows this, so I'm gonna say it here. And I'm going to use this quote that I got from a teacher. There's nothing more permanent than a temporary solution. And that is what we've lived by. When we came up with Forged Brush, he called me during work and was like, what should we call it? And I was throwing out names, and Forged Brush was just one of them. We're like, okay, we're going to use that as a placeholder. And then that's the name now. Hobby Highlander, same thing. I like alliteration. HH, okay. And then we're like, that's just the name now. Okay. So, and then, anything you might notice for names generally comes out of that.
Yeah,
because it just works and you don't need to change it.
Yeah, and Hobby Highlander is what is interesting because our buddy Rob is a Highlander from Scotland. And so we called him up and we were like, hey, can you do some B-roll of you being a Scotsman? And we do some like Tarantino zoom-ins. And he's like, yes. And so he became Rob, the Hobby Highlander. And now he is like YouTube and podcast famous. It's amazing.
Shout out to Rob.
Yeah, shout out Rob.
Yes, that was my little tangent.
That's fair. So unfortunately, we didn't get the most high quality photos to show on the podcast. We will release some of those photos more on our Instagram and
the Discord.
But unfortunately for now, they are sent through Messenger because we haven't been able to put them into Google Drive yet. So forgive me for the terrible quality, but yeah, it is what it is. So this was Aidan McGeeth's introduction as his Wormblade. This did win Best Diorama. And
It's cool.
yeah,
Wow.
G, do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Yes. So it is an interesting little story of a bunch of Wormblade that are robbing a bank because they're all in the theme of desperados. It is very cool. The team themselves came dressed up as close as they could to being cowboys,
Yes.
desperados, if you will, and they sold it. It was a lot of fun. And Aiden always, he nails it on his themes every time he does something. He has a very unique paint style, which is always great to have because then people recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
he's one of my favorite paint styles that I've come to see in the last 3 years. And you look at it and you go like the little details inside the whole work of it, because it's like something you could hang on your wall and you
Yeah,
can look at it and
it looks like an illustration. That's amazing.
yes, and it's wonderful. Like I want it so bad, but
He also
can't get
won.
everything.
He also won the best painted award. This cloak here was all hand done poncho work, and it
Wow.
was absolutely immaculate. And
Yes.
Aiden's known for having very heavy, dark shadows, very comic book style, very deliberate art style.
Mhm.
And he won best single model for the forged brush, and he also won the best display. So
The diorama.
diorama. So
Yes.
his stuff was absolutely gorgeous. What do you think, Darcy? You want me to pull it back up? I know that it's
Yeah,
bad
definitely.
quality photos. I
No,
apologize.
I would like to especially address that. I love that the backdrop of the top, that even that
Mhm.
what is that? That
The vault
plating,
The
door.
that
vault.
metal
Yeah.
plate, the vault door. Yeah, yeah, that's
Mhm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Just the ambient lighting, non-metallic metal effect on just the background. Like, I feel like that shape pulls your eye, and then you just get this fun little visual drift downwards through this crazy, chaotic, incredible scene. So yeah, I think just composition speaking, that's a
Mm-hmm.
really really awesome idea. I love it. No, I don't even know how you begin to plan things like this. I have a very floral arrangement approach
Mm-hmm.
to my painting, so whenever I see this amount of color on this large a surface but it works, I'm just totally in awe.
Yeah, he is absolutely a phenomenal painter. Another thing that Aiden's won many of our best painted total overall, and he probably would have won if we were doing singular at the All Valley Team Tournament. He probably would have won a best overall, just like best painted, hands down. Right? He
Yeah.
didn't end up winning the best overall forged brush. He did just submit one thing into multiple categories. There was somebody else who did multiple categories and was phenomenal. So we're gonna move on to best fantasy. This is so we had a couple categories. Most for the forged brush, we have I think 4 categories that are specifically meant for just kill team, and then we have 2 open categories: one sci-fi, one fantasy, and then we have best overall. So the person who did the absolute best in the entire thing, we give them the best overall award. And this is our next one. It is Bellacore,
Oh
painted
wow.
by James Robinson. It's a
Mhm.
little overexposed picture wise, but this is a little bit
Nice.
better picture. Yeah, he did a phenomenal job. There was a lot of good entries. James had a ton of great entries this year, but this one was his best work that we thought. Um, the, the skin was great. It was very dark. Love that he swapped out the ultramarine for a gray knight. Super cool. Super cool.
Yes. I like Bellacore in general just because it lends itself to like the model's already kind of pointing at you. It's already threatening and kind of catches your eye.
Mm-hmm.
So you can really work with that. Like, that's the one nice thing about certain models is they're very much like you have to draw attention to me already, which then you can really like play with that.
Yeah.
So I like the model. I'm digging it.
Mhm.
I dig it.
I'm trying to see if I can upload my own models and my own pictures to while we're live.
I enjoyed his blue, the use of
Yeah.
the subtle blue on the silver, which is perfect for Grey Knights because they're not actually gray; they're very blue, which most
Steel.
people know now. Yeah, it's cool. I like it. I've painted only a handful of them in my lifetime, and I appreciate when you use the blue undertones to sell it, and I think he does a great job doing that.
We had a lot of really good entries for the fantasy models. We had like a giant mammoth submitted by James. We had a great one submitted by Jonathan Marquis. We had a great model submitted by Aiden. But the next, this person won. His name was TJ Freeman, and his color choice and his color theory was astounding. Well, I'll talk about the overall winner too, because she also put a model in this.
Mhm.
But I think that the blends on this thing were just great. The color choice and the vibrancy of the paints that they did was great, and it was this model here.
Nice.
Yeah. So
It's
That's awesome. I like that base. I really
Mhm.
like that base. I wait. I can't tell just from the picture. Is it stone I don't know. I think it's just got Fraggle Rock vibes. I think that's what
Yeah.
what
Mhm.
it's
It's
doing.
it's like it's a mushroom that has legs and is moving.
Yeah.
So it's in what I'm assuming is underground with a little grot eating a mushroom and then getting attacked by a flying mushroom.
Oh, it's better than that. He's tripping out because look,
oh my
he's
Yeah,
gosh, you're
tripping
right.
on it.
because he's
Because the
bitten it and he's
yeah, because that's why one of the moons is drooling and alive, and the other one is
Oh, I
yeah.
love
You're
normal.
you're seeing it from his tripped out.
That's a good catch. I
that. That
didn't think of
is.
that.
I like that.
That's fun. That one warms my heart. It makes me like, I think of something really adorable, and I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
I really the
gets a
colors are
great.
just yeah,
That's
like in a
solid.
kid's book or something.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
my first take of mushrooms.
His too, apparently. He
I
fell
guess.
hard.
I guess. Excuse me.
So I think next up we're gonna have the best. I think he won best kill team and best display. This was Garrett Rayner from the Bay Area. It's interesting. Last AVT, so our very first All Valley team tournament, we had 46 players. Our last year we had 55. This year we had 66. So it seems like we're growing about 10 players per year. But we had a much better just entries to the Forged Brush every year. It's been growing immensely. So this is
Oh, cool.
the dwarves, and obviously with poor quality, you can already see how cool this team is, and you can see how the bases are like baked in.
Yes.
This
Yes.
one's missing
nice.
because this model was submitted into the singular category. You can see Dwarven Zoron in the background from the Power Rangers.
Zordon.
Zordon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yay. Sorry. That's what I grew up with.
I'm
Dude,
sure.
that was a bomb diggity show.
Yeah.
I was madly in love with Jason. So
So was I. So was I.
I
I'm
went
not gonna lie.
I went back and watched it as an adult and I was like, I regret nothing.
Show's still funny to this day. It's still
Oh
fun to
yeah.
watch.
That's awesome though. Holy crap.
Yeah, he had. Oh, that is not the picture I was hoping for.
One thing I like about
Oh,
his
there.
his stuff is I don't know if you can see it very well, but he uses LEDs. And generally, I'm a hater on LEDs. I think LEDs are garbage, right? Because it actually destroys your paint job, like literally, because the light gets in the way of your paint job. But his is subtle, and I think the use of subtlety in LEDs is perfect because it can get a point across without ruining the paint job. And in there, in the little hidden part where the lights just kind of are glowing blue, like perfect. You don't need it any higher.
Or the immersion.
The immersion is not lost, right? Because that's also another thing. Sometimes people will put different plastics, different things on their bases, but they don't paint it, and so it looks odd, like
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Absolutely.
And this didn't have that, and that's one thing I appreciate when a painter can do that. Again, not to say that incorporating LEDs into your model is not impressive, because the skill is there. You still have to run the wires and the battery and make sure it works, and not totally sucks. So like, there's still that. I'm just a hater. That's all.
So the next one is going to be our best overall. He won best kill team and best display for the Forged Brush. This is Kristen's models. She submitted to kill team, singular model, and fantasy. So these are her Croxagores.
Awesome.
Now,
Wow.
there's some really interesting choices that she chose here that we really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Oh
man.
So it's interesting that her base choice are like, these are like fire lizards with, and you can't see all the details. You can see the eyeball done like a snake eyeball, which is
pretty sick.
It was crazy in person too, because there's like a little highlights in there as well.
Yep. The pupil. Yeah. That's solid.
Mm-hmm.
I love the color placement of the burnt part, where you not only get the effect of their scorching the earth, but it helps them, as we addressed before, stand out when you've got that vibrant, warm hues against that dark, warm gray.
Yes.
So you've not only set the scene, you've also brought attention to your miniature.
Mm-hmm.
One more thing to note about the color-based choice. Green is the complement of orange. So actually, that also would have been fine. So using both and incorporating really well is a slam dunk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She had this really cool splatter black pattern on her scales too, which really lent it to like an actual lizard. I've owned quite a few bearded dragons in the past, so the color choice is also phenomenal, because we can also see green up in her in the mallets as well. So this was something that we really adored, but just wasn't. I still think the goblin had it just by a tad, but this is her Necrons. I think we have a better. It doesn't look like it's that much better, but you know, it is what it is. Very vibrant other color choices on her Necrons here as well, and. It's a very pretty, very, very pretty team. I think we have some actual videos of it I'll get to in a second. This was this is what she won in total. She won best overall. Here's the anvil. AK sent us stuff, so AK sponsored the event. So did Duncan Rhodes, Two Thin Coats, and so did Artist Opus and Game Envy as well. So she won the Game Envy lamp, some AK paints, some Duncan Road paints, and I think it was the S set from
the series, S series of Artist Opus.
Yeah, so
it's a great set.
Yeah, it was a really fun, really cool. You know, I think it was pretty dang cool. Awards, you know.
I like them. They look great, all of them. God.
Because there's not as many painting competitions out there as you think. Maybe outside of like online, of course.
Yeah.
But like in person, it's nice. Like honestly, that's one of the reasons I'd go to 40K tournaments was for painting competitions, because that's the only place I could really find them. You know, so it's nice to just like you don't have to rely on the thing you're playing with, not the tools or the pieces, but you know, something else you're proud of too. So more places, more separate painting tournaments, please.
Yeah. And again, for the people on YouTube, sorry about the poor image quality. We will, you know, it's the day after the event, you know, so we are still working on the digital aspects, getting things up and running. And I'm sure these people will be more than happy to take really nice photos as well and post them in our Discord so everyone can see. If you are interested in joining the Forged Brush for next year, we're also thinking about running it at LVO. And if Darcy, if you come, you can help judge that as well. I know that Artist Opus has already said that he wants to help judge our painting competition as well. He is such a nice guy, by the way.
Byron's amazing.
Yeah, met him at sat down and talked for quite some time, and he was just sitting there sanding a Space Marine like forever. You know, I loved it. So. But yeah, so that's the Forged Brush, something that is really hard to get out there because I don't know how to market a painting competition. And typically only the people who join the event can come and participate. but it is an open event for itself, so people can submit. I think for LVO, we'll probably just stick to just Kill Team stuff because I don't want to. I have to make sure it's okay with FLG too, but I wouldn't want to step on their own painting competition that they're doing. We already do a painting competition, but if people want to, for LVO, you have to submit the team that you're playing. Mm-hmm. So if you want to do another team that you're not playing because maybe they're hot garbage, I kind of want to do something else so that people can bring in something that can be shown off as well. So we're trying to figure that out as we go.
Logistics.
Yeah, logistics. Yeah. Quick thing about the All Valley. The winners for the golden tickets happen to all come from Kel Team. Kel Team is a strong, competitive team from San Diego. They brought up 3 teams and they were able to dominate the 67 players. They got first and second overall. And all the golden tickets went to both of those teams. And what's funny is I believe 3 of their members, 3 of the 6 people who got first through 6th already had golden tickets. And now the other 3 have golden tickets. So all of San Diegans are getting to go to Worlds and represent California alongside myself, Chris Bakke, and a few other people. So we get to go and compete there. And then there's one more golden ticket in California this year, which is SoCal Open, which is happening October 19th and 20th, which we will be running 3rd edition at in San Diego. So if you are looking to come, don't let Kel Team steal another ticket. Show your team pride. Come down and beat up those San Diegans so that you can represent your faction and your player base at Worlds.
There you go.
Yeah. So Darcy, is there anything that you want to shout out as we round out the episode today?
Well, I'm in the hot seat and I have absolutely nothing to say. No, just thank you very much for inviting me. This was really fun.
Good. I'm glad.
I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, just a sit down casual chat, That's what we try.
Sorry for the lack of intelligence there, but this was fun. I had a good time.
I never thought I'd meet you because I always followed you on Instagram, and I was like, oh, that's cool, more people, and Dakota was like, oh, that's exciting, getting to meet people you just normally see online.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part of conventions. I have come to the realization I am shamelessly fangirl hard. To the point where it's just, I know it's going to happen. So I just kind of hope that they forget. But yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of conventions. It's like being at Disney World and seeing all the characters, except these are actual people. So yeah.
It's funny because when I met you at Nova, I didn't know who you were. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're painting so well. It's like, oh yeah.
Thank God. Because I was so out of it that day.
Yeah.
I was really hoping no one knew who I was because I was running on 4 hours of sleep. I was like, I'm not going to say anything because whatever it is going to be dumb because I'm so tired.
So it's funny because I came back and I told G and I was like, oh, I got to meet Darcy. And he was like, Darcy Bono. Oh, and he started fangirling,
That was true. Yeah.
It's
exciting. It's exciting.
I'm going to embarrass him. I'm allowed to.
He's allowed to.
No, I have the fan. If we have time,
we have plenty of time.
Great, quick. I do have to run in just a sec, but a great, quick fangirl story. No one can ever be this absurd, so you can fangirl to your heart's content after this. So, Horus Heresy event. The one in the UK, we got invited to Warhammer World. I painted Angron, blah, blah, blah. I knew Richard Gray was going to be there. Ooh. I have, major god tier painter, and I followed his stuff forever. And the whole time, we were there 4 days, I think. The whole time, I never came across him. And I didn't want to be like, hey, where are you, man? On Instagram. So I was like, you know what? If I don't see him, I guess I don't see him. And I'm standing there, breakfast line, just waiting in the buffet line. The last day we're there. And it dawns on me, as I'm standing there waiting in line, I'm like, damn it, I never saw Richard Gray. And as I'm having this thought, I look down at my elbow and he's at the table right next to me, next to this line, eating his breakfast and just having that thought and then immediately having him appear like a wizard elicited a very loud, I'm sure shrill, Richard Gray! And at like 8 in the morning in England in an American accent. So that was fun for everyone involved. But poor Richard Gray was just like, oh, hello, Darcy. Thank you for yelling at me in the morning. But it was like totally nice. Won't you join me? And I'm like, yeah. So don't worry about fangirling. I took the crown.
That was a
there.
good one. That's a good one.
And he was totally good about it. Hats off to him. I need to send him something someday and be like, here's for that time that I ruined your breakfast.
Send him breakfast, like,
Send him breakfast.
Instant made.
I'll send him a gift card to an IHOP.
Send him some instant oatmeal,
Anyway, that's my stupid story.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Those are fun. Meeting Duncan Rhodes was fun. Took a picture, sent it to a friend who wants to meet him more than I do. And he was like, oh, what? Where is he? And he wasn't. He got to meet him later. But
that's good.
He was redeemed. It was redeemed.
Duncan's
but it was funny at
also
the time.
Super, super nice.
Very
super,
chill, man.
super nice. Yeah. He came over and was like looking at all of our terrain at LVO. He's like, oh, this all looks so cool. I was like, oh, yeah, I make it on my laser. And everyone's like, oh, my gosh, Dakota's talking to Duncan Rhodes. And they're like, and he's like, oh, you make this? I was like, yeah, I do. And then they like pulled me over for like a camera shot. And like we were sitting there talking for like 25 minutes. People were trying to get questions. I was like, other TOs, go handle it. I'm talking to Duncan Rhodes. It was fun. I have no shame.
No, yeah, it's cool.
I mean, it's fun. I mean, who would get offended over that? Like, how dare you be excited to see me? Get away from me. Like, who like, come on, man. You're not, I'm trying to think of a celebrity. You're not Brad Pitt. Like, no one's mauling you. Mm-hmm. Like, engage, damn it. Mm-hmm. So
I will fangirl hard if anyone ever, like Henry Cavill ever walks in. I'm pretty sure every man too would. He's like the Ryan Reynolds of Warhammer. So
yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about him. I don't know. He's almost like I like not him as like a fan, just as far as like fangirling, like, oh my, like, Beatles fangirl screaming. No, I don't doubt his sincerity in it. Men. He's. I mean, come on, we know what he is. He is an attractive human being.
He's an attractive man.
But as far as like actually like fangirling over, I don't know.
Like, did he paint this like Richard Gray?
Yeah. I don't know if I would fangirl over Henry. Let it be known, I don't know if I would fangirl over Henry Cavill as hard as I did over Richard Gray.
I'm with you right there.
That's fair.
I'm with you right there, man.
See,
I'm gonna put that in the quote.
I'm gonna shotgun arm pump and give him a fist pump. I'm gonna be like, and then he's gonna do the same thing to me. That's like my fantasy world.
You have this all laid out. Oh my god!
Right, he's telling Saya all the time.
Like
this is what I'm gonna do.
A little diary somewhere, like a checklist.
Yeah. I write it specifically in the back of my Kill Team 3 manual.
There you go.
Yeah,
I love that. Me and Henry having the best day ever.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I like that. It's cool.
Yeah.
Why not have your dream?
Yeah,
it could happen.
Yeah. See, I fangirl and I've never even met the man. Just saying. G, do you have any shout outs, brother?
Of course. You can always join the conversation on our Discord. The Discord is in the show notes, or if you're watching it on YouTube, in the description. And, if you want, you can also check out the Hobby Highlander while you're there. Painting different colors, seeing what's good, what's not. Give us what you think, what you don't think, and all that other good jazz. On top of that, we're on Twitch generally most of the weeks. And we're usually doing battle reports, though we will be doing the tabletop hot takes this time around, where you can share your hot takes on 3rd edition Kill Team.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you can find me on Instagram at wargaming_studios. I will finish those Night Lords at some point. And yeah, how about you, Dakota?
I want to shout out Darcy Bono Creations on YouTube. She makes some, she does some wonderful paint tutorials, and yeah, we all might watch our general artists that we look at, but feel free to always expand your horizons. Check out other content creators and other artists, because you're going to learn something. Not everyone paints the same, and it's important to expand your repertoire as much as possible. And if you already like her content, don't forget to subscribe and like, right? So also I want to shout out Giacomo's Instagram. He's a great painter. So go check out
Wargaming_studio.
Thank you, Giacomo. Thank you.
The underscore's important.
The underscore.
Wait, say it again.
Wargaming_studios, which I was very surprised no one had taken.
I know. I was just thinking that.
It was such a generic name I came up with years ago.
Well, I
It's
didn't
and
think
again
that,
a
but-
placeholder name, and it turned out to be permanent.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Got it.
So those are my shout outs for this week. Yeah.
Well, I think that's everything then.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Until next time, guys.
Until next time.
Yay.
See ya.
Yeah.